Everyone is okay? Good break? Cigarette, coffee? All energized? Yes? Perfect. So we're gonna move to actually even a more practical discussion. Just before that, again, I know it's 11:15, so it's start to get obviously the time just before lunch. We have a few obviously exercise there, but what we want to make sure is that you obviously hear from one of the most important and most iconic club in the Basketball Champions League, Vilnius Ritas, and that they will obviously go through their approach, the challenges they face, their branding approach, so that you have obviously an overview from a club. So I'm a league, obviously providing you with some tips, but it's really from a peer, club to clubs, and I think that's important from that front. So I welcome obviously Petras on stage. He will go through that, and again, the goal is for you to be interactive. Feel free to ask questions. I mean, obviously, or challenge him on some of those elements. But it's one of the great part is really getting the feedback and the approach from a club directly. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ben. Hello, everybody. As Ben mentioned, my name is Petras. First of all, how about a round of applause for the translator? I was listening into her lovely voice and a great job. I know how hard that job is because the club owner in the club that I work for, he speaks perfect English, but he's shy. So at all the club events, I work as a translator for him, and it's really hard. So good job on her side. So my name is Petras. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer here at Rytas Vilnius. And I've been with the club my entire life in different facets. So I've seen it from up close and from inside. So from whenever I was a little small kid, my dad used to take me to the games, and I was a fan. And then in my youth, I played for the youth system of Rytas Vilnius. Then by around 2015, I realized that you actually have to be tall to play basketball, so that stopped. And in 2020, I came back as an intern. In 2021, I became a sales manager, and then later on, I got promoted to where I am right now. So I've seen the processes in the club from all the different angles, and that gives me an interesting perspective on things. And today, I'm going to tell you about our case study is a strong word. Maybe just I'm going to share a story of Rytas Vilnius rebranding. More on this part that happened most recently, and what was going on, what led to it, the processes, and many mistakes that we made, and how we tried to fix them, and how we ended up where we are today. We're hearing these kind words from people at BCL, people at FIBA, and everything else. So first of all, how many of you heard about like Rytas or Lithuanian basketball in general? Of course, FIBA people have. Of course, is that Pristina there? You've heard about Lithuanian basketball, right? Yeah, they had a Lithuanian coach last season that lasted, what, 2 months in your club? Yeah, so his son actually plays for our club, but that's a different story. Okay, so Rytas, the story of Rytas, Lietuvos Rytas begins in 1997 when owner at the time buys another club in Vilnius that almost went bankrupt and renamed it. And since 2017, we rebranded to Vilnius Rytas. I'll get into that as much as possible, but we are 7 times Lithuanian champion, most recent being this year. We are 5 times Lithuanian Cup winner, 2 times we won the Euro Cup, and we are the main and actually the only interesting basketball project in Vilnius. So, does anybody know what the word Rytas means? Any guesses? Okay, so it's actually morning when you translate it, and it's because it was owned for 20 years by the biggest Lithuanian newspaper called Lietuvos Rytas, so the Lithuanian Morning. So like you have the Morning Gazette, the Morning Sun. So it's morning comes from the newspaper, and the owner of the newspaper and his family ran the club for 20 years, from 97 to 2017. I would like to try to paint a picture of where the club was at the time for those 20 years. And the owner of the newspaper and both the club was one of the richest people in Lithuania and one of the most influential. Of course, when you have the biggest newspaper in the country, you have the politicians in your hand, you have the businesses in your hand. So he was really influential. So he had a lot of money. So that meant a good team. So it was all about winning. In those 20 years, that was the most successful period of our club by far. 14 titles in 20 years, 2 European trophies. I think we're the only club still to this day that won the Euro Cup twice. Yeah. Also, there's some negatives that come from that. The owner of the club and his son, who was actually the general manager for most of the time, it was seen that the club is like a toy for them to play with. They just have something to spend their money on and have fun with it. So it's a bit negative. Also, negative things was some stories started leaking out about how the owner of the club is pressuring businesses through his newspaper about sponsoring Rytas. Like, he would come to a business and say, if you want peace, give some money to the club and you will have peace in our newspaper. And that's a bad thing. Reputation wasn't really good at the time. The club tried to be elite. So over here in this picture is the Prime Minister of Lithuania, and over there is the President of Lithuania at the time. The club made it really a priority to have top politicians, top businessmen, top celebrities at our games, and elitism was at its all-time high at the club at the time. That was the brand identity. Honestly, no core values at the time, other than winning. Winning was the most important thing, and later on I'll try to explain why it's not very, let's say, a good idea to have that as your only value. We were not really liked in Lithuania because Lithuanian basketball has its own sweetheart, and it's Žalgiris, the most, the biggest club in Lithuania, and most of the Lithuanians support Žalgiris. And because we are the only club that challenged them, we had a stretch of where 15 years in a row, the finals of Lithuanian League was Rytas, Žalgiris, only 2 clubs, and that's it. So because of that, we were not really well liked. Actually, funny, in this picture, you see Žalgiris' current general manager playing against our current general manager at the time. So, tone of voice of Rytas at the time was elitist as well. You had a lot of conflicts with regular fans, working class people. Tickets were being taken away from people for what the owner at the time deemed as wrongful behavior or bad behavior. The only focus was on the top people, the businessmen, the politicians, as I said. The club didn't really care about the regular fans, which is also not really good. Brand visual went just hand in hand, as you can see here. The fonts, the text, everything is just like just an extension of the newspaper. So it was whatever happened to the reputation of the newspaper, it translated to the club and vice versa. So here I have a question about rebranding. Ben gave a great presentation about it, but why do you do it? Does anybody have like ideas? Why do you rebrand? Nobody? Yeah. Over there.
I think it's always a new start, refresh.
Yeah.
New things. That's new fresh, I think.
Yeah, actually, I agree with that, and hopefully, you get to decide when you take that turn and when you try to take that new start. Because for us, it wasn't because we wanted to rebrand; it's because we had to, and here's why. This is a short video.
The president of a Lithuanian professional basketball team has sparked controversy after attributing his team's struggles to having too many black players. Quote, "We've always held the stance that there shouldn't be more than 2 black players on the team. What happened was that Coach Tomas Pachidas likes to play with black players, to control them, to teach them, to tutor them, and we ended up with 4 players that are black. All of a sudden, they came together to form, how should I put it, a sort of gang. It cannot be that way. No more than 2 black players. I can say that from my 23 years of experience in this business. Teams don't ever have more than 2 black players because that's when bad things start to take place." Wow. Stephen A.?
Well, clearly, it's a very, very racist comment, obviously. It's highly offensive.
I guess you want. So you want your club to be shown publicly on ESPN, but probably not in that context. Obviously, a terrible thing happened, unacceptable thing happened, and the club owner at the time gave an interview, actually in his own television. So the crazy part is, he gave an interview to his own TV station, and his own editors somehow allowed these words to come into public, and it struck chaos, panic around the club, and it was by far the toughest period of the club's history. So fans were protesting, saying they want the owner out because their values are definitely different from what he just said there. As you see, we have Stephen A. Smith talking about how bad our club is. So we have pressure not from only local media, but also international media. Also, at the time, it's the off season, and we need to sign new players, sign the new team. How do you think it's going to work out after hearing these words? How do you think we're going to sign some American players when the club has a reputation? So, really tough situation, and has to be solved. And finally, the owner is forced to sell the club. The new ownership group comes in with 4 tasks that they need to handle immediately. First of all, the immediate crisis, what's going on right now, the players leaving the club, the coach, and everything else. Distance the club as much as possible from the newspaper and the owner, because it's so, as I showed before, it goes hand in hand with what they're doing, so you have to distance it. Deal with being hated all around the world at the time. Not only, we were used to being hated in Lithuania, that was a piece of cake for us, but now we're hated all around the world, so that was but the solvement of these all issues are obviously rebranding, and we were forced to do it. So goals for the rebranding were 4 of them were the main ones. So maintaining the same colors, because as you see here, we had some suggestions to just change our colors to the Lithuanian national flag, which, I mean, I love our flag, but it looks awful. As I said, distancing yourself from the previous ownership and from the newspaper, but still not transforming into a different club, keeping some of the identity. Making a new, modern, attractive logo, timeless logo that will look good on merchandise and everywhere else. And finding a new voice, because the previous one, as I said, was so elitist, hyper-focused on elite people and not on the general people that in this situation were the only ones that supported us. All the elites ran away. The politicians didn't want to be near our club at the time, for obvious reasons. So the club in 2017 began the first stages of the rebranding. Anybody have any guesses? Like, what's the first step of rebranding? Yeah, so obviously we need to pick a new logo. The old one was too close to the newspaper. And we sent out an open invitation for people to send in their logos. So I picked out the most funny ones and the most ridiculously looking ones. There's some animals I don't even knew that existed there. And my two favorite ones are these. So this is a goat. The creator of this logo said that it's a goat because goats are usually stubborn, and basketball players need to be stubborn when they play on the court, so that's why the goat should be the symbol of the club.
So just to confirm, you went out to the fans to design, or you asked them to give ideas?
Just an open invitation. So marketing agencies, fans, random people, like anybody else who had any ideas, sent in, but obviously that didn't work out because the logos we received were like this. So in the end, we ended up hiring a marketing agency that did the entire rebranding for us.
Very interesting concept. If you were to do that in your clubs, both an agency and the fans, it gets them bought into it. Very interesting. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, and the last one, my favorite one, it's Rytas Vilnius with a rooster. Any guesses why a rooster? Yeah, because Rytas is morning, and the roosters, they make their sounds in the morning. Yeah. That was the idea that the person made it, tried to explain it. So here we have the start of Rytas Vilnius. We changed the logo, we changed our entire branding, our jerseys, our fonts, everything. We try to distance ourselves from the previous club as much as possible, but the fans demanded to keep the same name because they're fans of Rytas, and if we change our name, it's a different club in their eyes. So we changed from Lietuvos Rytas, which means Lithuanian morning, to Vilnius Rytas, which means our city name and Rytas. So it's a rebranding, but just like the Washington Wizards and Bullets, we kept the coloring, but and part of the name, but we'll try to rebrand. But I think changing name, colors, logo it's just the tip of the iceberg, as Ben showed. The most important thing is all the other stuff that you put in your ID, your strategy, your tone of voice, and everything else. So, has anybody went through a rebrand in recent years, or I don't know, let's say 5 years or something? Any clubs? No? Yeah, you did. So when was it?
Actually, it was this year. We changed our logo from back the previous year. Mm-hmm. And we did some type of rebranding with our colors and trying to neutralize a little bit more of the city vibe and other stuff. So that's what we did.
I have a question. What do you think, like, how long does it take to rebrand?
For us, it didn't take too long because we are a new team and we could actually do it right away. But I think for the teams that have a little bit more of, let's say, experience and history and background, I think it's a little bit harder to go through all of this. And I think for us it was a bit easier because we are a relatively new club, but behind for other teams that have experience and older team, I think it's really tough to change all these things at the same time.
Yeah, and that's the issue that we ran into. Rebranding is a continuous process, especially for bigger names, because it took us a while to understand that. And actually, like, it happened 7 years ago, but I would say that we are just right now, we're in the finishing stages of our rebrand, to be honest, and I'll tell you why. So in the beginning, what was done, so there was heavy investment into social media presence. At the time, 2017, social media is still running and in existence, but Rytas wasn't really active into it. As I said, the focus was on the most important people, not on everyday people. So we had an Instagram account, for example, but we were posting like once a week or something, just the score of the game, and that's it. So some people were hired. They were trying to be more active on all social media platforms that were available at the time. Merch was really important, and putting our new logo on as much merch as possible, because fans still were coming to games with their old merchandise. So we were selling it for cheap, and just to put the logo out there for everybody else, so it would become recognizable and visible. A wide variety of new slogans, hashtags were released. It was kind of actually a mess at the time now that we look back at it, but hashtags were really popular at the time. Now they're not so much. Our catchphrase "Pirmin Vilniečiai," which means like "Let's go forward, citizens of Vilnius," was released, and that's honestly the only thing that stick until today. But people that were working at the time were trying new stuff because they were desperate, because the situation required it. And one of my favorite projects, and that was done at the time, in 2017, with the huge help of our city municipality, over 40 basketball courts all around Vilnius were renovated, and designs were made with, as you can see, our club logo, our club slogan, obviously our city logo, our colors, and it was made all around the city. And this is a continuous project, and every year there's up to 10 new basketball courts built or renovated all around Vilnius, and that way we plant ourselves all around the city and be visible and noticeable. So honestly, one of the most successful projects during the first stages of the rebrand. Any questions, maybe? I don't know. Yeah? And I'm not going too fast? Okay. Then COVID hit, and it was a good time to assess ourselves. Also, it happened that at the time we had another small change in our ownership, and new people came into the office. That's where I showed up for the first time, and a lot of young people with me. So our front office age average dropped significantly. There was a bunch of 24-year-olds, 23-year-olds. Our CEO at the time was 29. I mean, just a bunch of kids running a basketball club, which was messy and fun, but we were all fans of Rytas, we were all passionate, and we all had fun doing it. So what we first tried to do is reassess where are we at right now with the rebranding. So the logo, with the help of the courts, with everything else, is now clearly recognizable and visible all around the city. With that being said, because we didn't go too far away from the previous name, people still call us by the name of the newspaper. Nobody cares. I mean, only our fans cared. Everybody else still called us Lietuvos Rytas. So more had to be done. Also, we're still by far the most hated team in Lithuania. Things like these were being made, mostly by our rivals, Žalgiris fans, and posted on social media and everything else, but what can you do? Also, at the time, ownership change, money being reduced, we're not winning as much. For the first time in 20 whatever years, we didn't make it to Lithuanian league finals, So we were struggling to fill the arena, especially that showed up with the numbers in younger audiences. And the notion in the media in Lithuania at the time was that Rytas has no vision. It also coincided with us going from the Euro Cup to the Champions League, which we believed in a project, in this ambitious project at the time, but it took a while to convince people in Lithuania that it's a good thing. News stories came about Rytas that they're going nowhere. They have no vision. So something had to be done, and because there were a few major mistakes in the first 3 years of the rebranding. So we had a situation that front office people kept constantly changing, and especially social media manager. And with every different social media manager, we had a different tone of voice in our media. So one of them comes in and he's like, "Hey guys, what's up? I'm friendly," tone of voice. The other one is really formal and calm. So no general guidelines were set. So that's what we needed to fix. So no matter who's working, but they follow the same lead. Also, the thinking was right with the merchandise, with just the logo on it, because we need to get it out there. But what you end up realizing that people don't wear it anywhere else other than games if it's just a logo, and it's especially color like red, not really usable in many contexts, especially for men. So we were overdoing it with the logo merchandise. Also, we were still kind of all over the place with the target audiences. We were trying to attract different audiences with different messages, and there was no really clear vision, and it coincides with the first point that there were no general guidelines for our communication. And also, as I mentioned, bad results on the court, few other minor crises did not help our reputation at the time. So a plan was made at the time to find our voice. And our thinking, as I said, young collective, so we wanted to be edgy and humorous. We drew a lot of inspiration from what we really like and we really follow is English football, because over there, especially fans, have a thing called banter, and it's funny, it's edgy, but it doesn't cross the line of being offensive. So, because in Lithuania, and I'm sure in Kosovo, you know, when you try to banter, it sometimes goes over the line, like things I want to do to your mother or something. Like it's too much, and we try to keep it edgy and humorous, but not crossing the line. So,
Sorry, just to go back.
yeah.
Brilliant. This is really important. What is your voice? What is your voice for your club? So can I ask, how did you come up with edgy and humorous? What did you physically do? Did you get people around the table and said, well, who are we? How did you come up with edgy and humorous that the people here can learn from?
Yeah, obviously, as I mentioned, most of us were like 24, 25 years of age at the time. So it's just the way we talk to each other, first of all. Another thing, companies like Ryanair and who else, like big companies started acting up in social media, doing crazy posts, going viral with it, and it caught our attention. So we wanted to go in a similar direction and not being afraid to laugh at ourselves, first of all, not only from everybody else. So it was just a reflection of who we were at the time, and also our fan base. Our fan base didn't, they were making fun of the club when the club was struggling a lot at the time. But they were doing it in good spirits, like, I love you, that's why I can make fun of you. So all of that ended up in a combination of us finding our voice as edgy and humorous, and I will show you more examples. Like for example, we use this Jose Mourinho. I don't know, it's an iconic speech when he said, "If I speak, I'm in big trouble, and I don't want to be in trouble." We posted this comment when our league came up with a refereeing report after a game that we lost, what we believe was a referee's mistake, but their report says there was no mistake. So we put the comment that if I speak, I'm in big trouble, and I don't want to be in trouble, so I prefer not to speak.
So this is important for you to take away. Find your voice. Is it humorous? Is it serious? Is it playful? How are you coming across? So when you post on social media, it should be consistent. That voice that you're finding. Does that make sense? I see some not, but does that make sense? Yes or no? So, I'm just going to stop for 1 minute. I want you to write down on the paper, what is your voice? 1 minute. I want you to write on the paper, what is your tone of voice? What is your voice? Find your voice. And I just want to share. 1 minute. Go. Is that clear? All okay?
They got it. They understood.
Okay, 30 seconds. Okay. Would one or two like to feed back?
A kemi dikon që dëshiron me nda tonin edhe mënyrën që komunikojnë me fansa.
Okay. It's English. I'm sat here at the table with some of our biggest rivals. So in the last few years, most likely in the last 2 years, we've chosen to be competitive with each other. And 2 years ago, we were champions. Last year, they were champions. And we went to the extent where we try to connect the fans with each other, even though the rivalry is really big. So that's the voice we've chosen to implement in our social media, because the fans like to be competitive with the other team. So as long as we put them down or they put us down, that works the most here in Kosovo.
Okay. Very. What that means, if this is your tone of voice, you must use it consistently. And that is what starts to build your brand, when it's consistent, when you're finding your voice. One more, and then we will. One more, like to feed back. Come on, don't be shy, or I will select. Okay?
Us in Pristina, we try to keep that seriousness of posting regularly, and like we are having this elite tone that we aim. Is that correct? And of course, no, we do not deal with the past, for example. But if people here pushes us to deal with the past, we tell them that we have too many trophies.
But what is your voice when you're posting?
We are just serious, really, like not so edgy and serious. Maybe sometimes we put humorous, but not constantly, at time to time.
Okay. So in this case, if it is serious and you're putting some humor, that may not work. If you're serious, you're serious. So you've got to get your clear, find your voice. So here, edgy, humorous. So if we go on to their social media, that's what we should see. But you cannot have serious, informal, serious, and you're all, because you're not getting across a consistent message. So I'll just let but I want to challenge you to find your voice. And that is maybe formal, entertaining, edgy. What is that? And you need to do that consistently. Sorry, over to you. Thank you.
And I would like to challenge you now, because I kind of disagree in a way, because for us, what we found that works is we change our tone a little bit depending on the platform. So, for example, Instagram and TikTok, that are mostly related to youth, especially in TikTok, we go wild. We do whatever we want there. We gave this project to one of the youngest employees that we have, and she's going crazy. But in Facebook, where there's like an older community, we try to keep it, let's say, somewhat more serious, still having some jokes in. Like, for example, this was put in Facebook, but this is not nothing serious. But okay, yeah.
It's one step ahead, which you've identified your audience. And therefore, the tone of voice can be changed based on the audience when you know your audience is. And I think that's something that is important. And it will be discussed in the session on digital this afternoon, but you will not post the same thing on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook. Different audience, different messaging, different tone. I think you do it very well. And yes, if you go on Vilnius Fitas TikTok account, they're going far. I must say, and sometimes we ask ourselves, should we also go as far? But it's actually funny. It's good. And this is what people look for. And that's the way you see it as well in the engagement rate. So again, depending on the platform, depending on your target audience, then you have a ton of voice. But it's true that if you are looking at more serious and formal, on Twitter, on X, for example, you're then gonna need to be formal. And then if you lose and you make fun of your team because you wanna make fun and there, you know that obviously your executive, the board members, the coach, the players that are not used to that, and the fans will not laugh because they will take it seriously. So again, depending on the platform, depending on your approach, I think it's where you need to obviously adapt based on the targeted audience.
Thank you, Ben. So continuing with our goals, finding our voice, also changing our strategy with our merchandise, Also, really important subject. Sometimes what we see, especially in basketball, that's why we take most of our inspiration in merchandise in football, because they're way far ahead of us as a sport. But in basketball, clubs, they just turn their heads from merchandise, and we think it's really important. So our goals were making merchandise that people would want to wear every day, to work, to going for a run, whatever. More flashy clothing. So what I like to do now, I go to some parties and concerts in Vilnius, and I see people with Dita's merch, because we made some, I will show you examples later, we made some flashier clothes that are nice to wear even for going out, and expanding on the variety of our merchandise. So not only t-shirts and hoodies that are traditional, but we went on to caps, headbands, wristbands, sporting gear, shorts, pants, like everything that you can think of, we probably tried it and had it. Our focus was, obviously, we're still dealing with the issue of being not liked by Žalgiris fans and being hated in Lithuania, but we see that our community support us no matter what, so focus was being made of expanding and growing our community. So especially targeting youth, and up to 20% of Vilnius community is international. So we made a focus to target international community in Vilnius. We changed our Instagram language completely to English. Everything is in English on our Instagram. Facebook, we kept it in Lithuanian. And we started to focus there. Finding ways to be closer to the fans, to give them more that anybody else can have. I will show you our solution later. And trying to make non-basketball fans Rytas fans. So as, I don't remember now, Ben mentioned, the example of Yankees being popular in France, or not in France, yeah. So nobody even knows like the rules of baseball, but they know the Yankees. We try to do it in a way, and also I'll show you ways that we do. And with that, with our tone of voice, we want to be different than everybody else in sports. We want to be the punk rock of Lithuanian sports. So go viral, as I mentioned before, as much as we can. That's where TikTok comes in, and making videos and doing PR stunts. We want to go viral. We want to express opinions that nobody else will in sports. And we want to create a club-like atmosphere at our games. Fifth and almost most important thing was we are being hated no matter what, and we will not fix this because Lithuania is dominated by Žalgiris fans that hate us. But what we can do is make us really hard to hate. And so we set out a goal to become leaders in social responsibility projects in our region. We will never increase our ticket prices or membership prices too high if it comes from our fans. So we don't want to be hated for that. And we want to use our platform to shine a light on issues that nobody else will in basketball. So what was done? Communication, as I said, edgy, humorous. So this is after a game where we played a team that recently relocated from one city to another. After that game, we said, Alytus called, they want their team back. So the city that they relocated from, they want their team back. In 2021, we played against Žalgiris, against our biggest rivals in Kaunas, in their city. And their fans before the game, I don't know if it's clear, but they put out a tifo that says The Purge. You know the movie The Purge, where you can kill anybody for 24 hours? So they say that 40 minutes, all crime is legal. So it's a message to their players that for 40 minutes, they can kill us on the court. The problem is we won that game on their court. And later on that night, we made a post that thank you, our fans, for the support. And for your support and for this glorious victory, we have a discount code for you guys for upcoming tickets and merchandise. And the discount code is The Purge. So we made fun, not only from the club, but from the fans of the other club. And that went viral. This is a media outlet that put out the post, not us. Also, communication is not only through social media, but through other things. So here's another example. This is 2 years ago, an iconic moment where we play a game in our arena again against our biggest rival, Žalgiris, and Marcus Foster, our best player at the time, hits a game-winning shot, and then walks off and waves to the Žalgiris fans. So next day, we release a limited edition merchandise with Marcus Foster waving at a painted crowd of Žalgiris fans. And till this day, this is our best-selling merchandise because Marcus came back to us last season, so we re-released that. And Marcus bought himself like 10 of these jerseys. He went to games, especially Žalgiris games with them, a really successful project. And we didn't do it because we wanted to succeed commercially. We did it to make fun of Žalgiris, but it became a win-win situation. We also made a reasonable amount of money from that. So what I'm trying to say is that communication is not only in text and writing, but it's in various other forms.
But this works because their voice. This works because their voice is edgy and fun. That's why this works. And that is why you need to find your voice. And when you find it, you can do innovative things like this or the Purge example as well, because people see that that is your voice and it becomes accepted. And this is why it's important from a branding point of view.
The only thing I can add to that is it's also a great example of things you don't know it's going to happen. A game-winning shot, a celebration, but you need to be flexible and make the most out of it. I mean, I can tell you already, BCL, I would not be able to do that in a short turnaround. Because there's an institutional behind us, because we FIBA, because it takes more time. So to get the approval of the jersey or the t-shirt you want to sell, it would be already a week. That, again, I live with that very peacefully and I'm fine with it because we have all the strength. But that's where, as a club, you should be able to, great moment, you know what, we're going to do it. But it only works if you go the next day in store or the night. If you go wait 3 days, there's another game. There's something else. So that's also where you need to be flexible in your approach to be able to have those moments. And yes, it works because that's what people want. That's the experience. That's for people that were at the arena, that people watched the game. They would want to have that memorabilia. It's actually a memorabilia. So that's definitely a great example.
Yeah, it helps when you have a bunch of 25-year-olds that celebrates the victory against Žalgiris and drinks all night and comes up with crazy stuff like this and then paints something and releases it the next morning for pre-order. So when you have families and older people working, it's quite complicated, I agree. So as mentioned before, TikTok was created at around that time. Keep in mind, this is 2021. And I'm going to share one of the TikToks that we are making fun of ourselves. So, yeah, we lost against Bonn Telecom, but they were champions of the Champions League at the time. So it wasn't like a really crushing loss. We are expected to lose, maybe not by that much. So we were able to make fun of ourselves. And this is just one example, but we go even further, as Ben mentioned. Sorry. Merchandise, as I said, we came up with new concepts, with things that people want to wear every day, some flashier clothes maybe. That's the goal we set out. And we'll show you later on, our merchandise sales increased by a lot because people who don't even support Ritas just saw as cool jerseys, cool designs, and wanna have it. So that really helped. And as you notice here, no logos, but still keeping with our branding, with our colorette, with our fonts, and but keeping the name Ritas in it, but no logos anymore. And probably one of the most important things that we did, remember we set out the goal to be closer to the fans. So we started a new project, a documentary series, following our club from really up close. That's how it's called, from up close in Lithuania. And I'm just gonna show you like a preview, and I'll talk about later. So yeah, a documentary series that comes out once a month, every month. We have a guy that's following our team with the camera wherever they go, whatever they do. He's in the locker room constantly, and we see that our fans get to know our players' personalities better. They get closer. They get attached to them. They start following not only the club but them personally, and it just draws them in to the point where Ritas is on their mind constantly. And obviously it helps that we have a sponsor for it. Since it started growing, more sponsors started coming in, so we made it successful commercially as well. But the main idea behind it is to give more access to the fans so they would feel closer, and we would grow our community, because we are the only ones in Lithuania to do that. And it takes sacrifice, it takes convincing the players to not be afraid of the camera, and coaching staff. As you see, we saw chairs breaking, we saw the coach cursing, but in the end, for us personally, it's worth it. Youth, we started targeting youth, as I mentioned before, so we started going to school visits. We do at least 14, 15 of them every year, all around Vilnius and Vilnius region schools. We bring around 2 players and 1 front office member to those visits, and we saw significant increase in youth coming to our games. So basically it's just a short concept. A player goes in there, takes pictures, talks with the kids, answers their questions, and then gives them tickets to our games that are not filled in the arena. They come for free for the first time. They see that we are nice, they get hooked, and then they start coming again. It's not as simple as I just put it, but the idea behind it is like that. Do you guys do school visits in here? Because since we started doing it, almost half of Lithuanian leagues started doing it in their cities. So it's a really popular concept now in Lithuania. Not going around with the players to schools, no? Yeah, you are? You are? Okay, how's that going? Is it?
I have to talk in Albanian because my English is not very well. Përshëndetje. Po ne kemi çdo vit në fillim vitit shkollor, kur fillon kampionati, si target me i vizitu minimum 5 deri në 10 shkolla. dhe e kemi pothuajse të njëjtin plan dhe qëllim. Spari për masovizimin e sportit basketbollit që bëhet përmes fëmijëve të shkollave fillore, ku ne shkojmë me lojtarët që ata i kanë idol dhe i tregojmë arritjet si kanë arrit ata deri në këtë moment profesional që janë duke luajt. Edhe i thrasëm që me ardhë me vizitu shkollën tonë basketbollit. Ne bëjmë 2 forma si klub këtë punë. E para i zgjedhëm 5 deri në 10 shkolla për me shku mi vizitu në për shkolla, edhe të gjithë shkollat e qytetit çdo vit, të gjithë së bashku, 36 shkolla janë të mesme tulta në qytetin e Mitrovicës, të gjitha vinë na vizitojnë në stërvitjet tona kur ne i kemi. Dhe në këtë vitin e fundit ne kemi pas një sukses të madh me shkollën e basketbollit me masovizimin e sajna. Kemi pas vitin e kaluar parafërsisht 110 nxënësa kam variu ashtut. Në këtë vit i kemi përmi 200 nxënësa dhe gjëja kryesore e cila ka ndodhur që është masivizu shkolla jonë e basketbollit është vizita jonë në për shkolla.
Yeah, that's a great example, and it's nice to hear that we're basically doing the same thing. We also had some kids showing up at our practices, and it went really well. Also, one more thing that we are achieving with the school visits is when we meet younger audiences, then it's for the fandom. But when we go to, let's say, older students, we try to convince them to come to volunteer for us because they need to volunteer somewhere. The Lithuanian school system is like that. When you get older, you need to volunteer somewhere. So they gladly come, and now we have a lot of volunteers at our games, which help us with the match day experience and stuff. One more thing, as I mentioned, what we wanted to do is become really difficult to hate. And we did that through recognizing that we are hated, and there are some communities as well in Lithuania that are hated, so we try to identify with them and started a social responsibility project, Together Against All. That's the name of it. So together we go against everything that you are going through. So here's the marketing.
We hear your boos. We see you. But instead of tearing us or our fans down, it unites us and fuels our determination to fight for each other.
As a Colombian, to playing the game is one aspect. It's about leveraging our platform to create change. We strive to demonstrate that everyone, regardless of their race, sexual orientation, or culture, deserves respect and a sense of belonging in this world.
Growing up, I faced countless obstacles. Some people doubted my ability to succeed, but basketball showed me the power of persistence.
So we launched Together Against All as social responsibility campaign, where we wanted to shed a light on things that people maybe don't see, don't take enough attention to. So each month we select a different subject and we try to help that. So, for example, we had a month dedicated to Down syndrome, where we had Down syndrome girls perform at our games. They danced during our halftime. Our players volunteered at the homeless shelter in Vilnius. Also, we raised money for animal shelter in Vilnius. So each month we select something that our fans suggest, or even players sometimes suggest, and we try to tackle it. Also, we show support, and we always say that we are against hate when it comes to things like race, sexual orientation, and everything else. But so far, life has been good. This is not a club. This is a basketball arena. This is after we won our championship this summer. and all the fans rushed to the stage. We had lighting, we had music, and everybody had a party, and which led to coach of Monaco, Sasha Bradovic. I don't know if you've seen this, but he said he won the French championship, and after he was asked, how did you celebrate, how would you receive by our fans? And he said, well, I saw how it was for Rita, so for us it was like 10 old men congratulated us, and that's it. So even top club like Monaco, EuroLeague club, like what we are doing, so that's how we know we're going in the right direction. Also, we got recognized not only on the court but off the court for our social responsibility projects. We were announced the most socially responsible sports club in Lithuania, which was really a goal of ours this year. And our next step is go a bit more international with it. So doing more projects with other Champions League clubs, with the Champions League itself, maybe. Okay, maybe yeah. I'm boring you guys, and you probably want to go for lunch. So I just want to sum up a little bit. Rebranding is not only changing names and colors. From my perspective, it's the easiest things. The steps that go on later are the more important ones. And you have to set clear goals and steps how to achieve. As I showed, we set goals, we set steps, and what we achieve to reach what you want to reach. And always reevaluate yourself. As we did, it really helped us out that we didn't stay on course when some things didn't work. In 2020, we did a big evaluation of ourselves, and we saw what's not working, and we changed that. And that's why it got better from there, because some things weren't working. Also, know your target audience. We would have... I'm not suggesting that all of the clubs would become edgy and humorous, because maybe your audience is not like that. Maybe your audience is older and appreciates other things. We made studies, we talked to our fans, and we felt what our fans wanted and needed, and that's why we chose that. But you cannot just think of it randomly and select something. You have to base it on some evidence that your fans, your audience will appreciate it. And yeah, my advice, as I said, we were like most of the time young kids, and we were thrown into fire, so we weren't afraid to try something new, because that's what young kids do. But it doesn't have to be something extreme, but you can always try different things, and don't be afraid to be different. It's not as bad as it seems. Yeah. Anybody has any questions? Okay, I guess not. Then thank you. And if anybody wants to reach out to me personally, here are my contacts, or come to me after the event.
Thank you very much, Petras. Please, a big round of applause to Petras. He is available, obviously, at the break, at lunch. He's provided his contact details as well, should you want to reach out to him. I mean, a few things as well that I would like to highlight on what he mentioned, which I think to me is also great. You, as a club, are all part of the city. The work they've done with the city is amazing. Basketball court, refurbishing basketball court, or building basketball court, and having the brand of the clubs there is something that helps. And then, obviously, doing the community activities is something important. And having that community program helps as well the city. So I think it's something that is great. And you see, obviously, nothing is done by coincidence, but together against all. When they say that they wanted to be, obviously, they knew they were already, by themselves, kind of the only club that people were hating because they were of their element. And, well, I think you can easily understand that people are going to hate them less. Even if, okay, you're the competitor, but they hate them less because of all the activities, all the good they're doing. So I think everything in the story checked out, everything branding-wise, storytelling-wise, content-wise is actually aligned to the same direction. So I think that's definitely on our side, and why we wanted to have Vilnius Ritas in front of you is given the journey that they've gone through. The last point, which I think is the most difficult one as a club, how do you take a step back from the result? You saw the TikTok video when they lost. How do you engage when you lose? Your club lost. The fans are maybe pissed. There may be a number of things that don't go. Or do you still engage? And that's, again, something you need to work on. What are you publishing? And how you publish it? Because you don't want the fan to get angry. You don't want to just put hey, we lost, and then you're going to have a lot of negative comments. So that's also something to work, and based on the tone of voice. But thanks very much, Petras, again, because I think that's great. And again, if you have any question during the break, feel free. I know that some of us, you already came to us at the previous break. We're going to break for literally 3-5 minutes. So if you want to stretch your legs, etc., then we're going to go back and we do a quick walking group exercise, not too long. I mean, we're going to keep it to 15-20 minutes max, and then we go for lunch at 1. You guys okay with that? Perfect. So let's say back at 12:30 so that we can start right away on the group exercise. Thank you. So we have 5 tables, and you're going to do a group exercise pay table. So table number 1, table number 2, number 3, number 4, table number 5, okay? So each table together, I want you to agree on a club. You decide if it's your club, the club of someone else, but you agree on a club. Each table, you agree on one club. And it can be the same club. I mean, we will have different results, but if you take your club, again, you agree on one of the clubs from, obviously, Kosovo. And I want you to explain what do you think this club is for you now as a car brand, and what car brand do you want to be for that club? So again, if I talk Priscilla, I mean, I feel that right now I'm a Toyota. Why? And I want to be a Ferrari. Just to help you, give you some context, I will show you what we've done at the Basketball Champions League and how we've done that things. What car brand are we now? And it's literally a few months back. We say we're Volkswagen. Why? We have a balanced approach. We have diverse lineup. We have a wide range of cars. And what matters is actually quality. So we have a quality product, but not a very trendy brand. Volkswagen is known. I mean, you want a car that will do a lot of mileage, that will not break, you take a Volkswagen. What we want to do, actually, what we want to become is more Audi, which is more a brand of a bit more trendy, premium, that people have a desire to go. It's the one step up. I mean, you succeed, then you become Audi. In Volkswagen, you less as successful. It's also a design that is more modern. Again, when you look at the two logos, I mean, one is a bit more modern, contemporary design, when you look at the cars as well. And then Audi, it's all about performance. I mean, it's all about, okay, I will go faster with an Audi, I will go obviously deeper. Another example that I want to take, the FIBA Intercontinental Cup, so the club competition there. And right now what we feel is we're more Lexus. Lexus, great brand. No one knows about it though. I mean, it's a great car. I mean, it's luxury, it's reliable, but actually, yeah, I mean, they have hybrid option, you have a lot of things, but it's not trendy. I mean, it's not known. It's not innovative. And what we want to become is actually Tesla. It's the summum of innovation. It's very tech-oriented. It's different. You have a vision and you have clearly that vision. And obviously, Tesla is still having what Lexus has is the primary. It's like it's premium. So what I want to do is you take with your team one club, you decide which clubs, and you tell me which car brand you are. So you discuss together, you have 10 minutes, you discuss together, you decide which car you are now, and what car brand do you want to be in 3 or 5 years, or what do you think the car brand, the club should be in 3 or 5 years. And then you will present at the end, so we have the 5 table, you have 10 minutes, so it's like 45, 50, and then each table will present the club, the car brand they are now, and why they feel that. And you may have some, you may have some argument, you may not agree on all, and then what you think the car should be in the future. Is that all clear, or is there any question? Clear? Table 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well then, go on. Let's get to work. Thank you.
Një klub, a një makinë.
Say 3 minutes more and then you're good. 3 minutes more and then I will give the floor to each table one by one. So the last 3 minutes and then obviously we go through that and then we break for lunch. Thank you. So I will give the floor to table number 1. Please tell us the club that you've chosen. All the clubs, the car. I will let you, and then you can do it obviously in your local language, and then obviously listen in. But tell us obviously all about the car, the car brand, what you want to do in a couple of years, and why this car brand you think this is that, and all the rationale behind it.
Fillimisht e kena zgjedh klubin Basketbollit Pjesa. Për kere nuk është e di shumë, kështu që nuk është që muj me folë shumë për marka, po paka shumë pedi ata që ka përdu me thonë për Pjesan edhe rom dakord me gjithë avelinin që me market shembull. Pjesa është një klub që ka 31 vite eksistencë dhe po folim në aspektin e sukseseve, kemi zgjedh markën Volkswagen. Është një klub stabil, një klub që dhe më thonë është gjithmonë aty, e kryen detyrën e vetë, po qëllimi i Pjesës është që nga Volkswagen me kalu te Mercedes, dhe më thonë më konë lider, më konë udhëheq në brandin që është Mercedesi, edhe me fitu ma shumë, dhe më thonë edhe në aspektin e rrjeteve sociale, edhe në aspektin sportiv, edhe në aspektin e tifozve, dhe më thonë stabil ka qenë, po më bo ma stabil edhe më konë lider, që për momenti nuk është lider. Kjo është ajo që paka shumë pikat shkurta e kena përmbledh.
Perfect. So from Volkswagen to Mercedes, Volkswagen because of the history, because of the fiability, reliability exactly, and then obviously to Mercedes and more to have obviously a premium, a bit more premium, a bit more win, as you mentioned, obviously, and being seen more as a leader of the industry. That makes sense. Everyone that knows this club and that would agree or disagree with what is being said, or anything that you would challenge potentially? Agreed? Perfect. Thank you. Let's move on to table number 2 then.
Si duket dikush nga tavolina Po, në pas ka morë këton kreti det, edhe ne pas ka, ne i soportu pak ma herët. Me gjitha ta, edhe ne, po mendojmë doktor, kemi morën 3 klube ta shemi këto në tavolin, Vushtria, Drita dhe Juniori. Kemi du që i t'jemi në atë kategorinë përmes shembove të makinëve si Volkswagen, të cilët janë stabil, kanë tradit, dhe synimet e që të 3 ekipeve do të thotë, apo që mendojnë pretendohet shkohet atje të më rrinjë dete Mercedesi. Pse? Sepse mendohet si edhe aspiratat edhe Vushtrisë, edhe Drita sos paka shumë me hinjë edhe në Super League, edhe më supertu si aksi makinë tu, po parasysh si ndoshta edhe kerra që i dojmë na më shumë, edhe e kemi llogarisin një ndër Mercedesa si ekipe më e mirë dhe Superliga mos ka, se për këtë basketbollit e na është si elita më e fortë. Pra, edhe juniori mendoj si këtë vjet ka fillu për herë të parë në Super League, mendoj që të bëmi Mercedes edhe mushi helbete me bona e farë befasie pa hijeri, kështu. Që ndoshta edhe neve vetë me na befasuan. Faleminderit.
Thank you. So another one, obviously, from Volkswagen to Mercedes. I mean, and you say it's not only linked to the result, it's also linked of how you want the brand to be seen. So when you say I want to be a Mercedes, is okay, I want to see a leader, but it can be a leader of showing premium structure, premium brand. It doesn't have to be, oh, I'm going to win the games, because obviously winning the games, winning or losing, not in our hands. But on our side, what we know is from a marketing product side, what we can do to obviously build that clubs. But I understand that Volkswagen and Mercedes are apparently quite, have a good brand reputation already in Kosovo. Let's go in table number 3. And no more Mercedes or Volkswagen.
Okay, something new. Këtu në tavolin jemi me klubin Ravec, gjithashtu edhe të Biliqit, dhe më keku edhe Ilerian vetë që jam prej Prishtinës. Kemi zgjedh si klub normal me marrë klubin Ilerian që është nga Prishtina, me mendim të zbashkut edhe këtyne trejnerave të tjerë. Si klub tash po e personalizojmë në morg dëmënd veturës, e kemi bërë Teslën. Pse Teslën? Teslën e kemi bërë se është si brand inovativ i ri, që është të i ka po në fakt edhe vetura tjera se çka ka bo, dhe më thonë, se cila vetur, prodhimin e tina, kualitetin, qëndrueshmërinë, ose çka ka pos diçka me në zbulime sipër. Sa i përket Teslës, tash mund me quaj edhe që është një farë një pjesë masoviteti në fjalë. E kemi pas që shumica e veneve ndryshme të botës janë të interesuar në Tesla në specifikat e veta të ndryshme. Domethënë këto e kemi shtit në punimin me gjeneratat e reja, domethënë prej U9 të fillu deri te U18, të cilët përgatiten për matë të tjeshëm. E prej Teslës, na çka po mundohemi me bo është me kalu në Porsche. Pse në Porsche? Një e dim që Porschea është një super brand, mu mi thonë edhe ka bo luxury cars, ka bo sportive cars, dhe më thonë ka bo vetura sportive. Pse ka bo këtë pjesë? E ka bo që ka si shme thonë ka gja evolim dhe më thonë pjesën e tina. Pika parë është stabiliteti, është i famshëm si brand edhe ka gjithë përfshirje në glob. Çka du me thonë është që na me kalu si Porsche prej gjeneratave të reja me prodhu na lojtar të vendit ton për me pas kualitet. Domethënë jo vetëm me shiku gjithmonë onën e jashtme, po si brand të mbrëmshëm me prodhu lojtar të denë edhe me kualitet.
Well, first of all, thank you for not having named Volkswagen or Mercedes. I really appreciate it. I'm actually quite intrigued, by what you mentioned. I love the Tesla reference about innovation, young, and then actually that's the young community. I'm not sure, and that's for you story to tell, to transfer that to Porsche. Because, again, from what I see, and again, that's just from a pure marketing side, the reliability on Porsche, I would understand, the premium approach. Inclusivity, I'm not sure. But again, that's interesting, and to me, that's all you tell that story. Because ending up at the Porsche, it's fine. There's no right or wrong answer from that exercise, you can see. But I struggle right now, me, to see how you go from innovative youth participation there on Tesla, and then you end up and want to be Porsche there. So I think, again, like the approach, like the comparison with where you are right now, and maybe there's also then a shift that needs to be made if you really want to end up in Porsche versus what you are currently in Tesla. But they are very different approach. If you want to be innovative and keep innovation, Tesla is by far the best and more than what Porsche will ever be. If you then want to focus more on performance, I would say that's where Porsche will go more on the performance side, and therefore it may be, okay, well, now we want to win title. Innovative is great, but we want to win title. Again, that's fine. The only problem is on winning title, you don't decide. The court will decide. So that's the build, but definitely good example, and thank you very much, obviously, for playing the game. Moving on to, is there anyone that wants to actually react as well or challenge them? Feel free to challenge between yourself. That's something that is always used because, as I said, there's no right or wrong answer. Table number 4.
Faleminderit. Atëherë ne kemi zgjedh KB Kosovarin në tavolinë. KB Kosovari vitin e ardhshëm e feston 50 vjetorin e themelimit. Edhe për shkak të ngritjeve dhe të uleve të vazhdueshme të klubit, ne si brand makines e kemi zgjedh Peugeot, e cila ka një histori të gjatë prodhimi dhe i ka ngritjet dhe uljet e veta me kohën. Kohën e fundit i ka ngritje, ashtu siç kemi edhe ne në kohën e fundit, në 4 vitet e fundit të klubit. Tash, ku dojna me shku? Dojna me shku te Audi. Te Audi dojna me shku për arsye të stabilitetit, besueshmërisë, edhe për seriozitetit dhe për krajes në të gjitha moshave të brendit Audi. Kjo është ajo që kemi menduar ne në tavolinë.
Well, first of all, I must say I'm pleased because I've done that exercise a few times. I've never seen someone picking a French brand. So as a French one, taking Peugeot is thank you. Just really appreciate it. I will pass on the message to my countrymen. I like the approach though. You're right. Peugeot has obviously history and something that you want to build on, but the performance or the reliability is not there when you look at the brand itself. They're trying to improve on that front, but they don't have that, and they don't have the marketing as well, which make it look nice. The Audi reference is a nice one, and I think something that, yes, from a qualitative, from a premium approach, make a lot of sense, as well as obviously German cars being very, very reliable. So thank you very much. Last but not least, and then we go for a well-deserved lunch. Table 5.
Thank you. So we have chosen a team of Trepča because of 2 our ladies here are representing the Trepča team. Also me, myself, I come from Mitrovica. The cars that we have chosen are the Volvo and the Porsche, and we wanted to give 2 arguments with my colleague Erva. I want to say why I'm taking the Volvo, and she will be giving her opinion about Porsche and the future options for Trepča. So the reason why we chose Volvo for Trepča, because we believe that it's the most secure and the most loyal fan base of all the other teams. and we believe that it's been the most stable, especially the last 5 years, and this is the reason why we chose it. And
ne kemi zgjedhë për shenjë për shkak se është kerr që është makinë e guximshme edhe synimet tona janë me marr guximin edhe mu bë kampion. Masi që bëm kampion, synimet tona janë me shku edhe internacional, por nëse nuk mundëm me marr atë guxim me shku internacional, do mundohemi mi bë krenar mas pari familjet tona, trenerin, klubin edhe si qytetin.
Thank you very much. I mean, that's interesting, again, as a choice from Volvo to Porsche, especially because, as you say, you have a stable fan base. I mean, the most engaged one. Just be careful when you look at the exercises you're going to do, that by going to Porsche, you're not actually going to have the family that supports you not coming because you're coming a bit too trendy or too posh. Because that's also that difficult approach. That is, if you evolve and if you want to be more premium, there is Volvo, and to be fair, from a car standpoint, there are Volvo that are premium. I mean, they are secure and engaged, but if you go in the models, there will be models, and I think even the SUV, the Volvo C60, for those nosebleed cars, it's one of the major sold cars for family, still reliable, but still a lot of people can have it, space, etc. So when you do that exercise, again, be mindful of that. 102, I mean, in agenda it is 1, so I mean, apologies for taking 2 additional minutes of your time. But I really appreciate, obviously, the fact that you've been engaged, that you committed on a Saturday morning. Now I think we're going to obviously break. Feel free to interact. That's the best part, the networking session with the clubs, with us. We do a lunch. I think it's 1 hour lunch. Then there will be an icebreaker at 2 p.m. to start again the afternoon, and then to go into the more digital part. But thanks you very much again. I hope you appreciated the morning. And again, looking forward to spending more time with you this afternoon. Thank you.